dividing complex numbers. So the most important idea we're going to have here is using complex conjugates. And the idea of a complex conjugate is converting this a plus bi into a minus bi. And we'll talk about why it's really important in just a second, but here's an example of it. So if we solve 3 minus 2i, the complex conjugate of 3 minus 2i would be 3 plus 2i. All right, so let's just try a couple and see if we can figure out why, and we'll talk about why it works in just a second. So here's the first problem we have. We have the problem A is 8 over 1 plus I. Okay, here, just want to write this key step. The key step here is to take the complex conjugate of the denominator. If I could spell denominator, that would be even better. Of the denominator. Right? So the complex conjugate of the denominator. So let's rewrite this if you don't mind. So it's 8 over 1 plus I. So what's the complex conjugate of this? Of the denominator? Yep. It's 1 minus I. So we're gonna take 1 minus I. So we're going to multiply the complex conjugate of the denominator by the numerator and the denominator, right? You with me? So we take the complex conjugate of the denominator here and multiply it by the numerator and the denominator. And if you look at what we've done here is we've created difference of squares. So what we're going to do here is this. 8 times 1 is 8, isn't it? 8 times negative I is negative 8i, isn't it? But what about this? What is 1 plus I times 1 minus I? 1 plus I times 1 minus I is what? Is 1 minus I squared, isn't it? And what is 1 minus I squared? Well, what is I squared? Is what? Is 2. Isn't that weird? Can everybody see how that worked? Anybody confused about that? We can take a second and look. You might want to take a second and look at this, how that actually worked out. It's really weird, isn't it? Let's look at this. Let's do it by FOIL really quick. 1 times 1 is 1, isn't it? This is difference of squares. That's why it just jumped to this answer. 1 times 1 is 1, isn't it? But 1 times negative I is negative I, isn't it? I times 1 is positive I, isn't it? So those two things are going to cancel out, aren't they? And then I times negative I is negative I squared, right? Well, negative I plus I cancels out, doesn't it? I squared, remember, is negative 1, isn't it? And negative 1 times negative 1 is 1, right? So this becomes positive 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2, isn't it? Because now look what happens. Remember that we need to put this in standard form of a complex number, which is a plus bi, right? Everybody okay with that? Complex number is a plus bi. Well, look, what is 8 over 2? Is 4. This negative sign right here is this negative sign. And what is 8i over 2? Yep. Yep. 4i. So there's our answer. Make any sense? It's not bad, right? Let's try another one and see if we can make that work. Let's try another one. This one Make it a little better. So here's question B. That's 2I over 1 minus I. So what's the most important thing to do here? Mr. Giles? Complex conjugate of the denominator, which happens to be what? 1 plus I. So 1 plus I times the numerator and the denominator, right? 1 plus I. We already did this math, right? What is 1 minus I times 1 plus I? Is equal to 2. So there's that 2. We have 2I times 1 is 2I, isn't it? 2I times I is plus 2I squared, plus 2I squared. And what's I squared? Negative 1. So I'll take this I squared out and put in negative 1. Yeah? Negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is? Yeah. Negative 2. So I take this out and put in negative 2. So now what's our answer going to be? Can everybody see this happening now? We have this. And then we have this, don't we? So what's our answer come out to be? Can you see it? And what happens here?
1I minus 1.
Oh, can we do that? We have to put it in order. It has to be A first, right? The real part first. So what goes first? Yep. So it's negative 1. There's the negative 1 right here, isn't it? Plus what? Plus I. Everybody okay with that? Yes or no? All right. Get ready for part 2.